is Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches. Welcome to my channel where together we sew. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're brand new, welcome. I'm glad to have you, and I hope you watch the video and stick around and hit that subscribe button. So today is the last week, yay, of the Fort Worth Fabric Studio as luck would have it quilt. So this week, as you can see, I have the blocks on the wall behind me. We've already made all of our star blocks and all of our Irish chain blocks. This week we are making the shoe fly blocks. So we're going to make 4 of those, and then we're going to put this whole thing together. So I'm super excited about that. So in this video I'm going to show you how to make a block, and then I'm going to sew that in the row that it belongs to, and then I'm going to show you all the rows sewn together and then put the borders on the quilt. In addition, I will also show you how I'm going to quilt it and bind it, but that's going to be in another video released later in the day. That's what I call my after party. So come join me for my after party video and you'll get to see how I quilted my quilt and bind it. I can't wait to get this done. I have a label picked out to put on my quilt, and I'm super excited to finish this because my little boy's birthday is in about 2 weeks, and so I'll have a finished quilt for him, and this has been a lot of fun. So let's get started. So we're ready to start sewing. This week we need just 2 colors are left for this week, which is the plaid and the background fabric. So you need 8 of the 4.5 inch plaid squares, 8 of the 4.5 inch background squares, 16 of the 3.5 inch background squares, and 4 of the 3.5 inch plaid squares. So I'm going to put these aside right now because we don't need to do anything with these right away. And make sure you've got a ruler, a rotary cutter, and whatever other tools, probably a marking pen would be good, your marking pen of choice, because we're going to have to mark the back of these blocks. We're going to take all of the background squares, the 4.5 inch and the 4.5 inch plaid squares, and we're going to make 2 half square triangles out of these. So you're going to want to draw a line on the back, which I've already done. You guys can see that in the camera. There we go. And we're going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of that line, and then cut this apart and make 2 half square triangles. So I've already done, and then when we're done, we're going to iron those and then trim them down to 3.5 inches. I've already done 1 for this block, so you could see what we're aiming for. So I'm going to set these here and then go ahead and get sewing. So this week there's 2 printouts. Don't forget to print out both. There's 1 for the block that we're working on, which is the shoe fly block, and again we're making 4 of those, and 1 for the final layout. So I'm going to set this aside and just keep the shoe fly block one here for now. Okay, put that in front of me so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pin this so the block stays, or the fabric stays in place. Just 1 pin will do. And then I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of that line. And you don't even have to cut the thread here. You can just whip it around, turn it around, and go on the other side. Okay. Remove that pin, and then I'm going to take my rotary cutter and ruler, and I'm going to cut this apart to make 2 half square triangles. Or you can scissor cut it right on that line. Put that aside. And now I'm going to press towards the dark side, the plaid side. Plug my iron in? Yes. Wasn't sure if I plugged my iron in there for a minute. I don't remember. So I'm going to iron these out first, and then we'll trim them down. We're going to trim these down to 3.5 inches. All the pieces will fit together in this block like a 9 patch, but they all have to be 3.5 inches first. Okay. Now I'm going to grab my ruler and my rotary cutter again. And I'm going to use that center line on the ruler, the black line, if you've got a Creative Grids ruler. If not, whatever you've got that's got a line that you can see the center, or find the center. And I'm going to trim these down to 3.5 inches. And there's plenty of room here if your squares are slightly off, that you're still going to get your 3.5 inch squares. This is the way I like to make half square triangles as well, so I was excited when they wrote the pattern this way. I always like to make them larger and then trim them down. Because once they're too small, you can't do anything about it, but if they're too large, it's fine. You can trim them down. Okay. Okay, so I've got all 4 of those made for one block. Now you're going to do this times 4, so you should have 16 of these if you're making all 4 blocks at once. Now I'm going to arrange these the way that we need to sew them together. So this is going to go together like a 9 patch. Nice and easy, the Shoo fly block. Just pay attention to your diagram and make sure you're turning all these in. So the whites are going to be on the outside and the color point is going to be towards the center. And then your center piece is going to be your plaid. I love this plaid. It's gorgeous and definitely very St. Patrick's Day. Very springy. It reminds me of grass. I love it. Okay. So there's the block all laid out. So I'm going to sew the top row together, and well, I'm going to sew them all together, but I'm going to sew the top row, press it to the right, the middle row, press it to the left, and the bottom row, and press it to the right. Or you could press, maybe I'll do it this way, press the center row, both of them in towards the plaid, and both of these out towards the plaid, whichever way you like best. Just so like the seams where you're matching up are going opposite directions so you can nest. Don't forget to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. These are really cute blocks. They go together really quickly. There were a lot of blocks in this quilt, but all of them went together really fast, so this has been a lot of fun. It makes it look a lot more complicated than what it is. So there's the middle row and the bottom row. together all 3 rows. Now before I put the rows together, I'm going to press these. I think I will press them all towards the plaid. So I'll press these out, that in, and the top one out. I hope you all enjoyed this sew along. Kind of sad it's coming to an end. This one was a lot of fun. But there'll be more. So stay tuned for that. As soon as Fort Worth has the next one ready for you guys, I will come on my channel and let you know. I can't wait to find out details about it and what it's going to be named. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, got those pressed. Now I'm just going to sew the rows together. So just curious, for all of you out there that are working on this, have you decided how you're going to finish it yet? Are you going to quilt it with anything special, echoing, straight lines, or are you going to have it or free motion quilted and put shamrocks on it? I'm curious to know how everybody else is going to quilt theirs. I believe I'm going to put a shamrock pattern on mine. I've got a green thread picked out already. So, yeah, I can't wait to get this done and on the long arm. And I hope you come back and watch my video for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Alright, so go ahead and make 3 more of these. And then we're going to start sewing these into rows to make our quilt top. And after our rows are all done, then we have to put the border on. And then the whole top will be finished. And all you have to do is quilt it and bind it. We are almost there. I'm so excited. So there we go. There's the shoe fly block. Like I said, make sure you make 4 of these. And I'm going to grab the other pieces and come back with you all and start assembling rows. Okay, so I've got my pile of blocks here, and I've got my finishing instructions. This, you definitely need this because you're going to want to follow the diagram. You're going to use the darker centered stars on all 4 corners and right in the middle, and then you're going to put the lighter stars in the opposite rows that the darker stars are in, and then the shoe fly blocks are going to be in the top middle, bottom middle, left and right middle, and the chain blocks are in between all of that. So make sure you print this off so you can follow the diagram. It's fairly simple, but I would make sure you have it in front of you, either printed or your computer, so you can see it. So I'm going to assemble, I've assembled most of my rows. You can probably see them hanging behind me. I'm going to assemble this last row with you guys, and then after I'm done, I'm going to give this a good, I'm going to put it in the quilt, give everything a good press, and come back here and do the border with you all. The border strips are going to be pieced, so I'll show you how I did that, and yeah, then we'll be done. All right, let's get going. Okay, first I'm going to start with a darker star and put it to a chain block. The nice thing with this quilt is that there are no seams to nest up when you put the blocks together. Hoping this quilt ushers spring in for a lot of us. I know there's a lot of you that live in warmer climates like Florida and Texas and places like that, and it's already warming up, which is awesome. And it warmed up a little bit for us this weekend, actually quite a bit, up to the high 60s, which is, for this time of year here, is pretty good. But we knew it couldn't last, and tomorrow we're supposed to get a little touch of snow, so hoping that this will encourage spring to arrive. Okay, see that shoe fly block is so cute right in the middle there. Do another chain block. And one more star block. So you're going to end up with 2 rows like this, where the shoe fly block is right in the center, and then you have the Irish chains on either side and the star blocks on the ends. And then you're going to have 2 rows where the shoe fly block is on the outside and the dark centered stars in the middle. And then you're going to have 2 rows with the light colored stars and the chain blocks. there's that row. Got that row all done. I'm going to press this and I'm going to add it to the quilt. I've got my other rows all put together, and this is the last one to go. And then I'm going to give it a press, and I'm going to come back here and put on some borders with you. Okay, so here's my quilt top. All the rows are sewn together, as you can see, and I've ironed it. It's nice and flat. So now the last thing we have to do is add the borders. So these are going to be piece borders. I'm going to start on the sides and do those pieces first, and then we'll move to the top and bottom. Now when we make the borders, we're going to need to sew, which I've already done with 2 of them. Sew 2 pieces together. So I've sewn 2 together and ironed it down. This fabric is really soft. Love it. So typically when I make borders, or I put borders on a quilt, I usually find the center of my border pieces, find the center of the quilt, and pin in the center and out. Now, I'm not going to be able to do this time because the scrap left over from this, because this piece is way too long for this side, we need to use for the top and bottom, because we're going to have to piece those together too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the top of my quilt up here, and I'm going to put the fabric just over the top edge and pin it there so I know that I have enough for the whole quilt. Then I'm going to come back towards the center and start my pinning to pin out. I find, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm a long arm quilter, and I find that the quilts with the best borders, the least amount of wave in them, are borders that have been put on in this manner, where you pin the center and then pin out away from the center. It seems to cause the least amount of gathering or extra fabric, and then you don't get the wave in your border. And if you have a wave in your border, then the sides of your quilt aren't going to come out super square. They can be a little distorted. So I find that this way of attaching borders helps with that problem. So I kind of just go back and forth for a few pins, and then once I've got several in, I'll finish up one side and then finish up the other side pinning. And you can use wonder clips here if you like instead of pins, that's fine. Probably would have done that if I'd had them handy over here. Got them put away. Okay, I've got it all pinned that direction. I'm going to pin it this direction. So that seam where I sewed these two together is right here, and we're almost at the end, as you can see. So we'll have plenty of fabric left to do the top and bottom. It's too bad yardage wasn't just a couple inches wider and we would have made it. That's okay. All right. So I'm actually going to trim off or cut off this excess right here so I don't have all this hanging while I'm working. And that's a good good piece left over for the top or bottom border. Close that rotary cutter before I cut myself. And then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch and sew this on. Now when I do borders, I always back stitch. Again, as a long arm quilter, that's probably the place where I see people's quilts come apart the most, is the borders start pulling apart. So I always recommend that to people, but you can do whatever you like. Okay, that side's done. I'm going to pull all these pins out. Trim the edges where the fabric went off the edge a little bit, and then do the other side. So flip this guy over. I'm going to grab my ruler. And this is how I like to do it. I put it on the line that I stitched, and then I line it up with the fabric on the edge here to get a nice square edge, and I trim that fabric right off, just like that. So now it's all nice and square. The border's all nice and square to the edge there. I'll do the same over here. And then I'm going to go through the same process for the other side, top and bottom. There we go. Nice and square. Perfect. Okay. So do the same thing for the all other three sides. Make sure you save your leftover piece that you cut off the sides for the top and bottom. You're going to use one whole strip. I haven't put these together yet, but one whole strip plus this extra piece sewn together for the top, and you'll have the same thing for the bottom after you sew the second side. And I'm going to finish this and then give everything a good press and come back and show you guys my finished top. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm all finished. I got all my borders on and the quilt is done. Woohoo! All finished. It looks great. I love how it came together. I love the Irish chain running through. It's just so pretty. And the border fabric that they chose for us in the kit is just so cute. I'm gonna hold this closer for those of you who use your own fabric. It's just absolutely adorable. So all done, and I just wanted to give Jody at Fort Worth Fabric Studio a shout out and say thank you so much for including me in this sew along. Thank you guys for sewing along with me. This was a lot of fun. I cannot wait to the next one. Those details should be announced soon. I can't wait to hear what the next sew along is. And don't forget to come back for the after party. I'm going to record a little bit of quilting this, and then I'll show you guys it all done, quilted, bound. That video will be up a little bit later today, but I can't wait to see what you guys have come up with. So don't forget to post your pictures in the Fort Worth Fabric Studio Facebook group, and I will put a link to that below if you're not already a member. So thank you guys so much, and thank you, Fort Worth Fabric Studio. Have a great day, guys. Bye.